you write for a season, you record for a very quick season. I love doing, those are two of my favorite seasons. And then you tour with that record for years, a year and a half, 2 years. And then you finally get to do it again, start over. And so I always love the season of writing, and then especially when we get to get in the studio.
Between the Grooves is hosted by James Curtis, music director and morning man in the Greater Toronto Area on Joy Radio. Hosts James Curtis talk to artists and industry insiders to discover the connection between music and faith. You can connect with the show at faithstrongtoday.com/betweenthegrooves or via Twitter @betweengrooves.
Welcome to Between the Grooves, your look at music, ministry, and everything in between with today's top Christian artists. This is James Curtis. It's episode 212, featuring a great conversation with Dave Frey, lead singer of the Dove Award-winning band Sidewalk Prophets. Numerous hits, 5 number-one radio singles. Dave is one of the founding members and just a lovable guy as well. They've been on the road a lot in the past, so we'll see how lockdown affected him. We'll talk about family priorities, touring, and even Christmas plans, as well as new music. Let's get Between the Grooves with Dave Frey.
Doing well. Having a great day. Just taking it easy at home for a change.
That's awesome.
We've been out on the road quite a bit. So yeah, I got a 16-month-old boy, and we were just coloring and having a good time. So
after 12 months, do you still say months?
Yeah. I think when you get to like a year and a half, it's like that weird, because one is a broad spectrum of life.
That's true. And a lot happens. Happens.
Once you get to 2, I think that's when you're like, okay, that's enough. Like, that's enough counting of months.
Right. I always thought it was the women that used the months, and the guys were just like, yeah, he's about a year and a half.
Yeah. I found it it kind of helps me remember that spectrum when I do it myself too, because otherwise I'll get lost. If I continually do it, then I'll remember.
Yeah. Well, it makes you think too, right?
Yeah. It keeps your brain on edge.
That's right. Because after that, once they hit 2 and older, you're goodbye.
Yeah. Good luck remembering even the birthday. So.
Yeah, exactly. Growing up, you strike me as being the class clown. Is that you?
I wasn't. I was very, very introverted growing up. And then about junior year of high school, my parents divorced. And as crazy as it sounds, I really think that God used that tragedy. It was maybe the hardest day of my life when I found out. But over the course of time, after healing for about a month, hearing about it, God kind of just showed me like, hey, you think you know what's going on, you think you have these plans, but I'm the one that's in control, and life's too short to worry what other people are thinking, how you can fix it, and so just trust me. And I think that in the midst of this hardship, I started to realize, hey, I only got a year and a half left here at high school. Some people don't even know my name because I would be afraid to talk. I would be so introverted and kind of shy. And so at that point, I didn't even know my voice was a gift. But I just kind of came out of my shell, and I started singing in front of people, and I joined a garage band. Our name was Hearing Impaired. It was a terrible name. I did not.
That's a great name. That's an awesome name.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. And so I think that then I became kind of a class clown, and just kind of let my personality truly show. I was afraid. I was afraid to show who I was for a long time. And I think that it took that hardship for God to make me realize, hey, even when things knock you down, I still got your back, and I want you just to be you.
I think I was very shy in the younger grades as well, and I don't know when actually I started not being shy. I know that one of the things I had done after high school was going to college for radio, and I think it was just because when I was a kid I was kind of goofing around pretending I was on the radio anyways. And it was one of these career.
I've done that.
Yeah, so it was one of these career choices where, I just kind of did it because it was like, well, what else am I going to do? I got to do something with my life. And then it was probably about a year later, maybe less than a year later, I was doing a radio gig at a radio station. It was kind of a summer job that turned into an internship. And it just suddenly dawned on me. I was doing a show. It was a Saturday night. It was a country radio station. I'm not a big, huge fan of country music, but it's at a country radio station. And all of a sudden it dawned on me that I'm talking to thousands of people at this moment. And it was that was the moment for me. It was like, whoa, I guess I'm not that shy kid in school anymore.
Yeah, it sometimes takes that trial by fire. My dad forced me, and I think it was in 8th grade, to sing in front of people for the first time. And it was my church, which that's the scariest thing when you're speaking and singing in front of people that you know, actually know where you live. You're like, oh no, I don't want to screw this up.
And you're going to see them again too.
Made it through. Exactly. Once you made it through, you're like, okay, I did that. But yeah, it takes some guts, it takes some faith and all those things. So to know you're speaking in front of thousands of people, you might as well you're doing well, you keep it up.
Yeah. Was music the career choice for you all along, or was there kind of a backup plan?
There was, the dream was to be a Chicago Cub. That was the dream. I was a huge Cubs fan growing up, and I loved baseball, and I was really good at it in 5th grade, and then my 6th grade, kids learned how to hit really slow pitches down the middle, and then my dreams crumbled. But I always wanted to be a baseball player, an astronaut, or a musician. I loved singing, even if people didn't know it, and so it was always there in the back of my head. Man, it would be awesome to sing. But I honestly thought that it was a dream that would not necessarily come true. I would just enjoy doing it in my free time and as a hobby. I would honestly, because I was shy, I would sing to my Super Mario Brothers poster in my room because he's always smiling. He's never, never angry at you. And that was my audience. But so once I went to college, I met my buddy Ben, and we started Sidewalk Prophets in college, and I was an English education major because I love books, I love literature, and teaching English. I got to teach English for do my student teaching semester, and I loved every minute of it. I taught 6th grade English, and it was a lot of fun. But really, that was kind of my safety net, if you will. My mom was like, you spent a lot of money on this college, being in a Christian university and private school. Like, you better have something that you can actually make money at.
Right.
And then when I graduated, I stayed in Anderson, Indiana, which is where our school was, and worked at Sears for a little bit. And we kept going out on the weekends to do this music thing. And God, praise God, we took that step of faith, moved to Nashville, and God kind of took it from there. So
I don't think many people really do pursue their passion. And I think part of it is like your mom said, if you can't make money at it, why are you doing it? So you end up settling for second best and working a job that you don't like, and perhaps doing something that makes you tons of money, but you're just not happy doing it.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that's, there's a balance there. I think that, I've met some William Hungs of the world. I don't know if you remember William Hung.
Yeah. He was awesome.
He actually ended up making quite a bit of money doing what he loved.
Right, which nobody else loved, but yeah.
Exactly. And so, I grew up on Disney movies and, follow your dreams, wish upon a star. But really, I do think it comes down to your heart and God's heart. And I think that we sell ourselves short, like you're saying, so many times in life. I honestly didn't, having my shy personality that I had in high school, man, it was still there in me in college, even if I was singing in front of people. And I just honestly thought, oh yeah, this is fun. Like, I'm having a good time. This is a great hobby, and people are enjoying it. But I could never sustain. I could never, write songs and be able to provide for a family. I sold myself short a lot, and it took God literally hitting me over the head with a 2x4, a metaphorical 2x4, where, I had a relationship that fell apart, and so it made me not have to move, back home to Indiana. I stayed stayed in Nashville, and all these things were happening. And I don't think at the time I realized it was God just weeding the garden of my heart so that I could pursue this dream that I'd always had, but I had sold myself short so much that God had to just take me by the wrist sometimes through my buddy Ben. My buddy Ben is our manager, and he's the one that like is like, you can't tell me what don't tell me what I can't do. I'm going to do it. And
right.
And I was grateful for somebody like that to ride together with on this journey. And so yeah, that was important too. Having friends and community that God puts around you to remind you, hey, that dream that you have just might be a little more attainable than you ever thought.
And having fun at your job, go figure, eh?
Yeah. And that doesn't mean it's always, the best of times on the road when the bus breaks down at 5 a.m. and all these things. But man, like when we stop and get to truly just shut ourselves up and look at what we get to do, man, I get to play music with my buddies and travel the country and see all these people that's the best part, is all these people that enjoy the music that we make, and God is using it somehow in ways that didn't even dream. Like, yeah, that's the dream. That's the dream that you hoped as a kid that would happen. Yeah,
and I'll say you're not a pro unless your bus breaks down.
Oh yeah, well then we are super pro.
Right. So in the past, you've been on the road a whole lot. What was it like? What was it like during lockdown?
Yeah, it was wonderful and strange and terrible. I think that a lot of people probably experienced that, the beauty of slowing down and the terror of not knowing when it's going to start up again or what we were even dealing with. My wife was pregnant when we came home from the road, and I was scared we weren't going to be able to make ends meet, of course, losing 100+ shows, our new album coming out, and having nobody to really play it with. And so we ended up doing a bunch of virtual shows. We just got online, found some cameras that we could live stream with, some nice TV grade cameras, television, and then we did about 80 shows over the pandemic. So we kept busy and we kept playing together as a band, which I think was a good, beautiful thing. But it was also amazing because I became a dad. I became a father May of 2020, and to be able to be home for every single night of my son's first year. I think there were 2 days that we actually did do a live show in the summer of 2020, but other than those 2 days, I was home every single day, and that hasn't happened in the history of since we started the band, that I've been home every that much. That's definitely not happened, and I don't know if it'll happen again. But at the same time, there was a beauty to it, and then of course the beast was that we weren't making as much money. We weren't able to do what we felt called to do in the way we normally do it. But we found ways to overcome that and to try to at least be able to make ends meet and at least be able to continue to do what we've been called to do, even if it was on a different way and a different level.
Yeah, it is scary not knowing where your next paycheck is coming from.
No doubt. Yeah. And the paycheck of you got this whole band, but you also have this crew that's given you years of their life and have worked so hard. And so we wanted to make sure, Ben and I starting the band, we wanted to make sure we could provide for everybody, not just ourselves. There's a lot of people that cut ties and had to do that. And I understand. But by doing these virtual shows, we were blessed and grateful that God provided a way for us to continue to keep our entire group together, as well as some of the amazing crew that we've had for years.
And from what I've seen, it's forced a lot of people, whether they're musicians or just, because of their jobs, they were working from home. It's forced people to adapt very quickly to new technology, perhaps technology they never thought they would be connected to. It's been pretty amazing, even with churches for that matter. I mean, doing things that they've never done before that, well, look, you got to do this now if you want to keep things going, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that there's a beauty to that, with a Zoom. I never heard of Zoom, and now you can't not. You haven't. I don't know if there's anyone in the country that hasn't done a Zoom at least once, and all these things, and it kind of opened up technology for my parents who, are fairly technologically illiterate, and they're like, how do I do this? And they really learned how to FaceTime pretty well over the pandemic. And all these things, and they used to show us just their foreheads when they talk, but we're working with them. We get to see their whole face now when they talk.
Right. So that's a big step up for them. That's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
With the change of pace, has it made you prioritize a little differently?
Yeah, I think you're kind of we're finding that with everybody that we talk to. We've done festivals with some good friend Matthew West and Big Daddy Weave guys and a lot of other folks this summer, and everyone, when you sit down at lunch together, how you doing? Are you excited to be back on the road? And everybody's you can tell that we've been hungry to do that and to have those folks in the audience and all these things. But there's also this idea like, but I really love being at home and getting to do house projects and date my wife a little more and those things and so I think that it absolutely I pray that it's not just that was a season kind of thing. I pray that it really does just keep our hearts on the right track to continue to do those kinds of things that are kind of the most important parts of life that we often set on the back burner.
Yeah. I was chatting with Danny Goki a few weeks back, and he was mentioning about the fact that typically when you're on the road, in the past, you're on the road for maybe 15, 20 days straight, and now the tours tend to be shorter where you're only gone for 3 or 4 days, and it's nice to come back home for several days before getting back out again. Yeah,
and I think that, we've found that too. Maybe don't play 180 shows a year, those things where, especially now that I wasn't at that before the pandemic, and now that I am, those 4-day runs used to be a piece of cake. But let's be like, after the first couple 4-day runs after the pandemic, we're like, that's enough. Like, we need to go home for a little bit. And you get those. We did the first thing we did after the pandemic. We had a couple one-off shows, shows here and there, but we did a 12 days straight, and New England, and we flew out west, and then made our way back home, and it felt like a month, and the bus broke down a few times, and the bus, I don't think that any of the buses did well during COVID, just sitting there. Getting them back on the road made for some adventure for sure, but that 10 days felt like a month, and so I think you're right. I think just realizing, hey, it's nice to be able to at least be home, more often is important. It's important for everybody. You don't want to work so much that you want to work yourself back to a good place, but at the same time, then it really becomes a grind, and that's not necessarily what you want either. You want to make sure that you're balancing everything as God intended.
Yeah. Now, speaking of tours, you have a big Christmas tour in the works, and it's funny because I was texting with a friend of mine the last couple of days, and I was mentioning that I'm working on Christmas music and programming at the radio station right now, and of course he started laughing, thinking, no, seriously? And I'm thinking, well, yeah, absolutely. Artists are normally recording Christmas music in the middle of the summer, and so it just makes sense that you're planning for Christmas now, even though people don't like, planning themselves and doing their Christmas shopping and whatnot. It's not far away. So tell us about this Christmas deal that you guys are doing.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I walked into Lowe's yesterday. It is not even October, and the Christmas stuff is out. And I was like, what is happening here, Lowe's?
They're following your lead. They're folling your lead. That's what they're doing.
Exactly. As a radio programmer, though, I totally get that. We recorded our Christmas record in May, years and years ago, and we made it Merry Christmas and decorated the studio. You had to get in the mood,
That's right.
Get that Christmas vibes going. And but yeah, man, it's wonderful, man. Christmas is all the things. It's the commercialism even feels wonderful, even the stuff that Charlie Brown was rioting against. I kind of enjoy, decorating poofy Christmas trees and the lights, but when you boil it all down, we as a family, especially my wife has very much wants this to be a Christ-centered, man, this is Jesus' birthday. And to get to do that, last year my son was so young, he just, looked and oohed at the lights. But now I think he'll be able to hopefully understand a little more. And I think that's the exciting part is having now some little guy to share it with, like, man, it's all the things that Christmas can bring up, the good and the bad. There's a lot of people that are hurting at Christmas because of family situations, and the holidays can make them depressed. But that's why we go out and we do this Christmas. We call it the Great Big Family Christmas, because we believe, man, this is a family of God. Even if you don't have a family to share Christmas with, you can come with us, and we're going to put on. It's kind of a little pageant. It's definitely a concert, of course, but at the end of the night, you leave with a smile on your face and a Little Debbie Christmas tree in your hand, and that's good. Everyone in the audience gets a Little Debbie snack cake, and you can't beat that. And I think that's kind of what sets this Christmas tour apart. Is it's something that we pour our heart and souls into, and we want to make it the best it can be. And man, we love Christmas. I love the Christmas record we made. We just wanted people to make memories with, and so to be able to go on the road and play those songs and play, have some fun. I think that's just an important thing to do each and every year.
And this tour a little bit different as well from many other Christmas-type concerts where you guys are raising money for a charity, and you're also giving stuff away, not only the Little Debbie Christmas tree cake, but there's other prizes and stuff. So it's not this isn't about you raking in a lot of money for yourself, is it?
No, we just as you would at Christmas, you want to turn the focus on those things that has gotten you to where you are, and being Christ-like. That's celebrating His birthday. There's nothing better than giving gifts away, and at the end of the night, we find families in need in the community, and we bless them. Whether we had a family that had lost their home in a fire, and we were able to bless them last year, and another family that just was in had overwhelming medical bills, and in all those things, that's the fun thing. We also do the Christmas giveaway in the middle of the show. We give out presents, and they've ranged from all sorts of things. Whether it be Sidewalk Prophet merchandise bundle, which is always the best gift, but also we've been giving away big screen TVs and autographed memorabilia from Chicago Cubs. I was really jealous that I had to give that away because I wanted it. But we've been blessed to have some incredible donors that have allowed us to be able to get these gifts and give them to other, give them to the audience members and people that actually show up and come. And we want it to feel like, you're getting presents, we're giving presents, and it's just a big old Christmas event.
Right. Now, after Christmas, hopefully things have settled down a bit as far as the pandemic is concerned, and things are opening up more and more. I think you guys are due for another record. Either that or a whole pile of singles being churned out or something.
Sure. Yeah, we've we had our newer record come out last May, and it was just the pandemic kind of threw wrenches in a lot of things, and so I think you're right though. We've been writing quite a bit. We're actually about to write some more in October, and then our great hope is by the spring to be in the studio recording a new record, finishing up writing in the first of the year, and then we'll be ready to rock. We got quite a few songs that didn't necessarily make our last record. We wrote some of them really close to the end of the scheduling. We wrote one with the lead singer of Jars of Clay, and I was really mad it didn't make the record. So I was like, this one's gonna make the next one. But I'm excited to make some new music. That's one of my favorite seasons. Being in a touring band, there's seasons, and you tour, you write for a season, you record for a very quick season. I love doing those. Are two of my favorite seasons, and then you tour with that record for years.
Right.
A year and a half, 2 years, and then you're like you finally get to do it again, start over. And so I always love the season of writing, and then especially when we get in the studio and see man, I have a great bunch of brothers in the band, and to see what they do with these acoustic, you sit down with a piano and our acoustic guitar and you play these demos, and then to see what the guys get to do with them is a pretty magical thing.
Now, would it be a full-length album, or a lot of people are taking the route where they just release a bunch of singles, so they don't actually put it on a record, a full album or anything like that. They just release singles every few months or whatnot.
Yeah, there may come a day where I'm kind of like Jonah, where I don't want to talk about that because I don't want to end up having to do that. Like, I don't want to go to Nineveh and then God makes me, because I am a old school record in my hand, read the lyrics while I listen to it for the first time guy.
Right.
Just because I'm born in '82, and so when my favorite bands would come out and have a new record, I would pull that little sleeve out. I would read the lyrics as I listen to it for the first time and take it all in. And so we grew up, that way. And so to me, sometimes the maybe I'm technologically unadvanced as well, that doing the single thing keeps it fresh, and every month there's something new. One of my favorite bands is 21 Pilots, and they do it. They've done it that way. Up to the release of their album, they had singles every month and a new music video. What does that mean? And got you excited for the album release. And we might have a strategy, to like that. But definitely, it'll definitely at least lead to a full record. Because man, that's kind of our. To me, I feel like a record should be a story from start to finish, and have. It's not an overwhelming theme. At least have these things that tie it together, and so to me, I love full on records and listening to songs that will never be on the radio, and then of course you're I think that one could be on the radio, and this and that. It's kind of fun, and I enjoy that process. So yeah, full record for sure. Sometimes
it can get confusing when groups or artists just release singles here and there, because they'll release something just to radio, and then a few weeks later, we're releasing this one to streaming, and then is that going to radio, or are they just testing the market a little bit? Here's another one for radio, and it's just you kind of lose track with all the music. And it's great that there's lots of music coming out, but of course you want to play the best stuff on the radio as well, and appease your listeners, right?
Sure.
So.
Sure. Yeah. You want to make sure that and everybody with the changing of the. Not buying a CD at a store, even buying a CD period is an archaic thing. And so to have these streaming platforms where, hey, Spotify has an exclusive of this track, Apple Music has to me, it gets a little convoluted when you're like, I just kind of want to hear all the songs.
Yeah.
Can I just have a place, and so that's the beauty of, just, hey, guess what? You can buy our album on CD. They're all right there. But yeah, it's that the label stuff that I'm grateful that I don't have to deal with necessarily.
Right.
But I'm grateful that there's businessmen and women that are figuring things out for us.
Are you still selling CDs at your merch table?
Yes, sir. And actually, I've heard, I don't know for sure, that there were a band that sells a lot more CDs than most people, probably because a lot of our fans just still have CD players.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's awesome. I remember the guy that sold us our merch, a lot of bands will sell a bunch of T-shirts and hats and hoodies, and the merch guy's like, man, you guys sell a lot of CDs still. And I was like, yeah, I don't know how or why, but I love the actual physical CD. I bought, when 21 Pilots came out with their new album, I got the CD, and it's sitting on a shelf because I literally just put it. I had to buy an extension to plug into my laptop to burn the CD onto my, that's just the old me, Yeah.
I think to a certain extent it is coming back, and my daughter, she's 17 years old, and she has bought 2 or 3 times now. She's purchased CDs online. Now she never opens them.
Sure.
They're still, sealed in their package.
It comes with a digital copy, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's just to have it, just to have this, perhaps it's going to be a collector's item later on, or in the future, if she ever gets a CD player, she can listen to it or whatever. But, she's never opened it, but you're right. It's probably the digital aspect, and just, it's kind of this tangible thing that you can hold in your hand versus just something that's playing on your phone or whatever.
I feel like it's art to an extent. Like I have so many vinyl records that my folks handed down to me, and then vinyl records that I purchased of bands that I love, and my son was in there just pulling things out, and I was like, oh, don't pull out that Beatles one. Like, you can pull out Grand Funk Railroad, and like, just be careful with that Beatles one. And it was fun to put it on the record player. When I was his age, I had a Fisher-Price record player, and that's how I listened to it. And so I think there's a nostalgia, but also, man, you open up a CD and you look at the artwork and you see the color scheme and the theme, and somebody made a very important decision of what picture should go on the front and what should be on the inside. And with our new record, it's called The Things That Got Us Here, and there are tiny tokens on the front of our album that weave together in this like mosaic kind of tapestry. And each of those little things, there's like a baseball here and a Nintendo controller and a top hat. And each of those little things were were thought up by my buddy Ben and I. Another girl did the artwork. She's amazing. But they were pieces of like our journey from college to get to today, and those ways that God weave those little things into our life to make something. And so, yeah, I think that's the beauty of holding onto a CD, looking at the art inside. There's even like a smell to, especially the vinyl records, but CDs as well, that you miss. Walking into a Blockbuster or Sam Goody, those things, you miss it.
Yeah.
There's a beauty to it.
Are you guys doing vinyl as well, or just the CDs?
We actually have vinyl for our latest record, The Things That Got Us Here, yeah, and that was a really special thing. It was our first one. They're expensive to do, and it was our very first time doing that, and so that was really special to be able to play my own record on a record player, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, especially these days, it's not just the record player and the needle. Of course, we know from way back when that's what made the sound, but also the fact that speakers are so much better than they used to be too.
That's true. Yeah, so true.
Listen, Dave, thanks so much for hanging out.
Well, thanks so much again, brother. It's been awesome. Appreciate you.
Take care, Dave.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, great chat with Dave Frey from Sidewalk Prophets. I think everyone we've ever spoken with on the podcast is pretty down-to-earth like Dave is. Make sure you check out sidewalkprophets.com to find the links to their music, events, and social media as well. And for some artist's advice this week, we check in with singer-songwriter Michael Dean Church.
Just be intentional about what you're releasing and be passionate about Jesus and, what you're actually doing. Like we talked about earlier, don't make it a performance. Make it, singing to God. That's what it's all about. And if we're not doing this to help win souls, then what are we doing it for?
Being intentional. Why are we doing it? What's our end goal? What are we trying to achieve here? Being passionate about Jesus. Great words of wisdom from Michael Dean Church. And there's the music, which means it's time for us to go. Thanks for hanging with Dave and I on Between the Grooves. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast for more episodes. You can leave a comment and a rating on Apple Podcasts. And remember to follow @Between Grooves on Facebook and Twitter. Have an awesome week.